It started with a question. Not a complicated one, not even scary. Just a question I had asked dozens of people in different towns before. Is there an old graveyard around here? But this time something shifted. The air, the light. Even time, maybe. The old man behind the counter, gray beard tangled like spiderwebs, skin like peeled bark, and a stare so hollow it felt bottomless, froze. He didn't answer. He just looked at me. Not at me, actually. Through me. Outside, the wind had stopped. Inside, the fan kept spinning, but the sound was gone. There was a silence so loud I could hear my heartbeat, and something behind it, a second beat, slower, not mine. Then the man leaned forward, elbows cracking on the wooden counter, and asked me something I didn't expect. Why would you speak of the land that breathes? His voice wasn't human. It felt like it came from underground. I blinked. The what? I asked, forcing a laugh. I'm talking about a graveyard. Not. He raised one finger. Don't say that word, he whispered. It listens. Now I was intrigued. I had seen fear before, but this was terror. Ancient, rooted, lived in. He pushed a folded paper toward me. Yellowed, half-burnt, smelling of old blood and dirt. Inside, a sketch. Hand-drawn, a map of some sort. But what chilled me wasn't the twisted trees or the fog-covered path. It was what stood in the center of the page, a massive, dark blot. No name, no shape. Just these words written in trembling ink. Here, the earth remembers every soul it has eaten. I looked up. The old man was staring at me like I was already dead. You go there, you don't come back whole, he whispered. If you come back at all. His lips were shaking, not from age, from memory. Then he said something I still hear in my dreams. They say the last sound you'll hear is the bell tied to your own grave, ringing from under the soil. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just felt it, that cold crawling up my spine like dead fingers wrapping around my neck. I should have left. I should have walked out, burned that map, deleted the footage. But I didn't. I was a horror vlogger. And that night, I decided to film the graveyard that swallowed people. It was the last decision I made, as myself. As I turned to leave the old man's shop, I caught my reflection in the dusty mirror beside the door. Except, it wasn't me. It was me, but smiling. I wasn't. And faintly from behind the wall, I heard it, ding, just one ring, like a tiny bell, under the dirt. The forest greeted me like a beast pretending to be asleep. As soon as I crossed the old rusted sign that read, "Trespassers will be forgotten," the sky shifted. The sun, once clinging weakly above the hills, seemed to vanish between the gray folds of clouds. My phone lost signal. My compass spun like a drunk. The air was no longer wind, it was stillness, thick and unmoving, as if the forest were holding its breath, watching me enter. Branches hung like arms, twisted and thin, scraping the top of my backpack. The trees were too close, not planted like a forest, arranged like a maze. And the deeper I walked, the more I felt unwanted. Not just watched, unwanted. Crunching under my boots wasn't just dry leaves. It sounded too soft, too hollow. Like I was walking over something that didn't want to be disturbed. The forest floor was uneven, as though something underneath was shifting, adjusting. I checked my camera, still rolling. The red light blinked back. I whispered into the mic, "Daniel Crow. Graveyard investigation, coordinates unknown. Time, 5:27 p.m. Forest seems something moved, right behind me. I spun, nothing. But the trees had changed. The path I came from, gone. No footprints, no trail, no sky, just trees, tighter, closer, hungrier. A sharp, distant bell rang once. I froze. It wasn't a wind chime, it wasn't metal, it sounded underground. As if someone had rung a bell from beneath soil, I pressed forward, heart pounding. Fog began to snake through the ground, thick and slow, as if crawling on limbs. My breath turned visible, and I felt something off. I looked down. My shoes were wet. I had stepped into a shallow puddle, but it wasn't water. It was black, thick, warm, like blood, but heavier. Something swirled in it. I didn't dare check. The forest began to whisper. Not wind, voices, faint, layered, and terrifyingly familiar. "You're late. We've been waiting." "Daniel, come closer." Each voice was my own. Whispering from different directions I ran. Every step echoed too loud. The ground began to pulse. The trees moved, I swear to God. They moved, they didn't sway. They turned. Branches bent forward like arms reaching down. A tree root burst from the earth and wrapped around my ankle. I fell hard, breath knocked out. The fog climbed onto my chest like a living thing. I tried to scream. No sound came. My voice had vanished. Stolen. Something crouched in front of me. Not a creature. A mirror. A full-length mirror standing upright, alone in the middle of the forest. On the surface, I saw myself, terrified, broken, but my reflection didn't match me. It was smiling. Its eyes were completely black. And then it spoke, "You never left." I blinked, and the mirror shattered into fog. When I stood up, my hands were shaking. The forest was dead silent again. But now, in the distance, I saw it. Gravestones, hundreds, peeking from behind the mist, their tops jagged like broken teeth. And carved into the first one I passed, barely visible under layers of moss and rot, were the words, "Daniel Crow, arrived 5:27 p.m., never left." The trees ended like a knife wound, suddenly, without warning. One step I was surrounded by forest, the next. I was standing at the edge of a vast open land covered in fog, as if the trees themselves had refused to grow any closer. The air was still, too still. Not a single leaf moved, not a single insect buzzed. It was the kind of silence that wasn't peaceful. It was unnatural. The kind you only feel when something is watching you from below, and there it was, the graveyard, but no gate, no sign, no walls, no entrance. It just began. A sea of cracked tombstones leaning like broken teeth, stretching far into the mist. Some were old and crumbling, half sunk into the earth. Others looked fresh, too fresh, dirt mounded like it had just been turned. The names on them were almost unreadable, scratched out, reversed, or missing altogether. No dates, no family names, just space for new ones. I stepped forward. The first thing I noticed, there were no birds here, no crows, no cawing, no life. Only a low hum in the air, like a growl that never stopped. My boots sank slightly into the dirt with every step, as though the ground was softer here. Not muddy, spongy, like walking on something that had been buried but refused to stay still. Then I heard it, ding a single metallic chime. Distant, but from inside the graveyard. I looked around. Every third or fourth gravestone had something tied to it. A small rusted iron bell, hanging by a rotting string. Grave bells. The kind they used in the 1800s in case someone was buried alive. I thought they were just legends until they started to ring. One by one, not all of them. Just a few. Random. Out of sync. Ding, ding, ding. No wind, no movement. Just those cursed bells sounding out across the dead land like someone beneath the soil was trying to get out. I took another step and felt it. The ground beneath me shifted. Not a tremor, not wind. It breathed. I swear to God, it exhaled beneath my boots. I stumbled back, breath caught in my chest. The earth had moved under its own will, like I had stepped onto the back of a sleeping creature and it had just started to wake up. I lifted my camera slowly, hands shaking, red light on. This is Daniel Crow. I'm standing inside the unnamed graveyard outside Township. The location has no marker, no gate, no records, and no goddamn reason to exist. Behind me, footsteps. I spun. Nothing but a new grave was open. Fresh dirt dug out, no nameplate. It hadn't been there 30 seconds ago, and then I saw it. Inside the grave, a mirror, buried where a body should be. Standing straight up in the middle of the pit. Facing me, I leaned forward. In the reflection, I didn't see myself holding a camera. I saw myself lying in that grave, arms crossed, eyes closed, as if already dead. I stepped back fast, chest pounding, throat dry. My foot hit something. I looked down, a small wooden marker buried in weeds, almost invisible. I brushed away the moss with shaking fingers. My name was carved into the wood. Daniel Crow, arrived, today, departed, pending. I couldn't breathe. I turned around, and suddenly, everything looked different. The mist was thicker. The gravestones had moved. The path I came from, gone. The trees vanished. I was surrounded, buried by graves, hundreds, thousands. Some of them were vibrating. The bells kept ringing. And somewhere beneath me, the ground whispered, "Lay down, Daniel, you're home." By the time I set up my tent, night had already swallowed the sky. There was no sunset, no golden light fading, just an instant collapse of color, as if someone flipped a switch and dragged the sun beneath the earth like everything else in this cursed place. My hands shook as I clipped the last cord. The tent felt too thin, too human, too weak for where I was. The silence was unbearable. It wasn't the quiet of the wilderness. It was aggressive, like the graveyard was angry at my presence. Even my breathing felt loud, like I was disturbing something ancient that didn't like being heard. I sat inside, zipped up the flap, and checked my camera footage. Everything was intact, but when I played it back, I froze. In the video, while I set up the tent, the gravestones behind me moved, not quickly, not like jump scares. They slowly turned, angling themselves toward me, like a crowd of headless figures silently watching, adjusting, preparing. And just before the clip ended, a bell rang in the background, soft, isolated, clear. I looked up. My tent walls shivered. Ding, one chime. Real. This time not from the camera. I held my breath. Ding, ding, ding. Now another, then two more. Then a whole cluster, like wind chimes in hell, but there was no wind. Each bell sounded as if it were being rung from below the ground, not by air, but by fingers. Fingers that shouldn't move. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent. The cold outside slapped my face like a corpse's kiss. Fog had spread over the ground like a living thing, twisting around the gravestones. I scanned left to right. Nothing moved until the bells rang again. This time, I saw them. Dozens of little bells tied to the tombstones were swaying in perfect sync, not random anymore, like a code, a pattern. Ding, 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 ding. It was Morse code. My heart stopped. I filmed it, and later when I translated it, it spelled under. I shone the light down and saw something that didn't belong to any grave. A hand, pale gray, sticking half out of the dirt, palm up, as if begging for help. Its fingers twitched. But here's the part that shattered my mind. Each finger had a tiny string tied to it, leading up to its own bell. The hand was ringing the bells. I stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. The light spun, catching shadows. And for one terrifying second, I saw them. Dozens of figures, standing between the graves. Some tall, some hunched, some crawling, none moving, all watching. I crawled back into the tent, zipped it shut, grabbed the knife I kept for emergencies. But when I turned around, there was something inside the tent. No entry opened, no flap moved. It was just there, a shadow, sitting, breathing. It didn't attack. It spoke, in my voice. "You brought light to where darkness lives. Now the dead must see you." Then it vanished. Not like smoke, like it had never been real, but the breath it left behind smelled like soil and rot. I didn't sleep. Not because I didn't try, because the bells never stopped. All night long, ringing, talking, begging. At 3:13 a.m. I checked my camera again. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. Not because of sunlight, because of the cold. It wasn't normal cold. It felt like something had climbed inside my skin and was freezing me from the bones outward. I opened my eyes and realized immediately I wasn't in the tent anymore. I was lying on my back, on dirt, open sky above me, fog pressing down like a second ceiling. My hands were dirty, my shirt damp, and my legs buried. Not fully, just up to the knees. But the dirt was tight, like cement. I panicked, I kicked, I screamed. But my voice didn't echo, because the graveyard was gone. Or maybe I was somewhere deeper now. All around me, darkness, soil, old wood, and faint, wet breathing. I wasn't alone. Then I heard the voice, not loud, not angry, not even demonic, just soft. "Be still or you'll sink faster." My body turned cold. Something was above me, not in sight, just in weight. The pressure of a chest leaning closer, a presence breathing just inches from my face. But when I raised my head, nothing. Then I felt it, Beneath my back, the soil moved, not shaking. Rising, I was being lifted by the earth itself. It formed a shape underneath me, something humanoid, as if another body was beneath mine, pushing upward, trying to take my place. My flashlight was gone, but a faint dim light shone from the side. I turned and saw it, a cracked gravestone, old, covered in moss, but glowing faintly from within the cracks, and on it, my name again. Only this time, the dates were filled in. Daniel Crow, born 1994, died 5 minutes from now. The dirt around my legs tightened. I couldn't pull them free. I dug my hands in the soil, pulling with all my strength. That's when I touched it, flesh. Cold, wrinkled, dead fingers, wrapping slowly around my ankle, and from underneath, I screamed. The earth swallowed half my scream. I tried to crawl, my arms dragging through wet, thick soil, nails tearing, mouth filling with dirt and whispers. Yes, whispers. The ground wasn't just alive, it was speaking, layered voices, hundreds, thousands, all buried souls. And they said the same thing, your time has come. Now it's our turn to breathe. My chest crushed. I was sinking faster now, waist deep, belly deep. I could feel bones below me, skulls brushing past my knees, teeth grinding. It felt like being devoured. Suddenly a bell, loud, right in my ear. I turned. Hanging from a nearby tree branch was a single rope holding a bell, the same kind from earlier grave bell, and beneath it, a coffin lid, standing open, waiting. Then I saw it. Me, standing a few feet away, but not me. It had my face, my clothes, my camera, but its eyes were empty black. Louder, deeper, almost inside my skull now. My body was now chest deep in soil. Dirt crawled up my arms. Something bit into my ribs, and just as my vision blurred just before I gave in, a hand grabbed mine. Real, warm, yanked me upward. The dirt screamed, not like people, like 100 insects being crushed at once. I broke free, gasping, covered in rot and blood and soil. I turned. Nobody there, no figure, no hand, no double, only me and the open grave, still breathing, still waiting.